Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
All right. This is it. Check 1. Check 2. Check 87 and plus 43. We're gonna do it. This is it. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell. Oh yeah, I'm back at it, drinking more coffee just for you, and smoking a little bit of herb and talking about life, comedy, music, legalization, meditation, caffeination. I got a nice cup of coffee. I'm at the end of my French press. As you know, I'm a big snob. I like, not a huge snob. I'm snobby about, as you get older, I know what I like. I know what the good shit is, all right? I'm not saying I know everything, but I know what coffee I like, and I like changing it up. I like sampling everything. But I do have a really good bag of, this person was from Michigan. My wife's friend sent me like 5 bags of coffee. So shout out to Rock, Paper, Scissors, this store in Ann Arbor. And they sent me a bag of whole beans. I love whole beans. Zingerman's Mocha Java is what I'm drinking today. Zingerman's coffee. It is dark and earthy with hints of blueberry whole bean. Medium roast. Good Lord. But I got a nice cup of coffee. I got this porcelain. I just got a porcelain cup. Something good about porcelain. Toilets, sinks. There's something clean and calming about it. But I have these. There's no lettering. It's just super simple. When I'm trying to be as simple as possible, when I try to be as straight up as possible, I just have my cup of coffee in this. Usually I have a big clay thing that has like Brooklyn writing. It looks like, that Welcome to the Five Boroughs illustration, Beastie Boy album illustration. A lot of people bit that style. I don't know. There is that artist that was doing like that black and white pencil style art. I saw that kind of that album cover is amazing. If you want to check out a cool album cover of New York City, one of the most probably one of the top 5 albums about New York is Welcome to the Five Boroughs, or it's called the Five Boroughs, Beastie Boys. But that's a great fucking just put the whole fucking thing on type of shit. Zingerman's, Michigan. What's up? Big glove. High five. This is some bomb ass coffee. And then I cleaned out my my Chillum. Now I had 2 Chillum. I had a Grav Chillum, and then I got this other one that has the original Space Invaders that I dig. Like I just dig the original Space Invaders where they're just stacked, remember, and they just work their way down. So it's got that illustration. But this bad boy, I loved it so much. It's a great Chillum, and it has this like nub at the side. But it was clogged up, man. It just had a lot of the quarantine is Ja Rastafari. A lot of people went to drinking, a lot of people went to exercise. I did mad stretches, meditation, podcasting, coffee drinking, and cannabis consumption. But no, I got a clean piece. As anybody knows, if you're a hardcore stoner, it's nice when your pipes are clean. And that's the one thing about smoking is all the bullshit that you got to keep up with. And I try to keep it really simple. I got it down to like 1 to 2 Chillums. I'm about to throw the other Chillum away. So I just have 1 simple Chillum. And then I have some sour diesel. And I got a good amount, but it's at the very end. So it's all crust. I like it. It's all the shake, as they say. And then I have this. Last episode, Lancashire. Lancashire. I kept on pronouncing it wrong. Caleb, my good guys at Lancashire Hemp. I love that podcast. I loved catching up with and learning about hemp and learning about farming, and I'm really excited about it. Like I've been grinding up this, and it's great. This Lancashire hemp flower, Lancaster Hemp Farms, Lancashire. Yeah, you got to check this hemp out. This is tangerine or Tangier. I forget. That's like a high end. This is premium flower, but its CBD is 1127. So I've been crushing up like this classic sour diesel, bag from my man in New York type of shit. Like I love sour diesel. Like I don't know. People are debating whether strains are real or not, but I could tell if it's some real sour diesel, because you could tell when it's real sour diesel if you want to start rapping like a 90s rapper. That's what I always do. I don't know. It has a really good creative buzz to it. And I don't know. I just I wrote a lot of those original coffee and weed rhymes. I've done a lot of little rap joints through my comedy career, and I always would rely on some good sour diesel. So I have some sour diesel grounded up, finely grounded up, with some Lancashire Tangier hemp flower, straight CBD. So that, and then I cleaned out my pipe because it was just resonated. It was like, I don't know, it was just dark death. Gollum was hanging out, like the corpse of Gollum was hanging out in my pipe, and I just had to. It's just like that nasty. I had to spend 20 minutes. It bums me out when I have to spend minutes cleaning, because I gotta hustle and shit. But you want a clean pipe. You don't want a resonated pipe. If you got a resonated pipe, you get headaches. So yeah, that's a lesson to the young bucks, the young stoners out there. Keep your pipes clean. And try to smoke glass. I always think glass and wood, but wood resonates really bad. But I did have one really good bowl. It was a Jack Herrera like bowl. They had it at High Times. When I would hang out in High Times at 2007 through 2011 in New York City, when their office was in New York City, and I would go there like almost every other day at 420 to hang out with Bobby Black and Danny Danko and all these guys that I knew from writing and doing little shows around town. But they were all like kind of my age. But it was a good pit stop before I went out to do comedy shows, doing sets in the city. So that was my move. I would write, and then I'd break out, hit up those guys. They usually had the best, and then go hit a show. But I don't know how I started talking about that. Oh, I was talking. Yeah, shout out to Bobby Black, Danny Danko. They're no longer at High Times magazines. They're working with another magazine, Leaf, which is, the cannabis industry is exploding. But if you don't do it for the right reason, or if you're stepping into it, it's a little bit like the gold rush that, it's almost too big. Like if you, like the word on the street, if you really think you're going to open up a dispensary and start making money, I don't know. It's a very tricky, but there is, I don't know, each state is different, each vibe, each scene is different. And the scene the scene changes, and just people's taste change, I think. And right now, cannabis is getting more and more legal. You hear people talking about microdosing everywhere. Everybody's microdosing mushrooms. Everybody's trying to get their consciousness aligned. But it takes works on both sides. You still got to meditate. You still got to be a good person. You still got to write. You still got to work out. For me, it's just, this is the two vices that I've found through my blessed life to live this long, into 37 years of age, is cannabis and coffee. Those are the two things, and I tried tobacco, tried alcohol, even some of the harder stuff. I was never a coke dude. I went down the ecstasy thing back in the 90s. My first time taking ecstasy was at a Jamiroquai concert. I think I've said that a couple times, but I haven't touched that in shit in years. I haven't even eaten mushrooms like in 5 years. I will soon. Just got shit to do. And New York is always running the pandemic, but I do need a good reset. But I like doing it in nature. I like controlled environments. because you're definitely messing with the consciousness a little bit. And I want, yeah, I more or less want to do it for the spiritual and mental health reasons than to be like, yo, let's go see the Allman Brothers at Red Rocks. I did see the Allman Brothers at Red Rocks, man. I saw the Allman Brothers. Who opened for the Allman? It might have been Widespread Panic and the Allman Brothers. No, I think it was just, I remember just seeing the Allman. We went with a bunch of people and I was driving cross country and I had some college friends that was living in Vail, and the concert they were going to was the Allman Brothers. And this was like the real Allman Brothers at Red Rocks in Colorado. I saw that show. And I remember, I think I did take some ecstasy that night. And that was like the early 20s. That's when you could slide. The early 20s is really tricky because you're like kind of adult, but you don't want to be. So that's when kind of that hard drug, that coke scene, all that shit kind of piles into that because there is a lifestyle out there. Let me try some of this cannabis. I was going to go in and talk about the Biggie documentary. I watched that the other night. I love the Biggie Smalls. I got a story to tell, which is on Netflix. Great documentary. I almost have to watch it like 3 or 4 times to really absorb it all. It's done really well. The footage, just kind of the mom I love. I love the Jamaican scenes, his childhood in Jamaica and his uncle from Jamaica. That dude, oh man. Because hip hop, in terms of MCing and rocking a crowd, comes from the Bronx, but that influence is Jamaican, those sound systems, that sound system culture. I mean, yeah, people pump music everywhere, but Jamaica, like the DJ and the big speakers and the setting up on that all, I mean, like, but I think that there's always been people that play music. There's always the sound selector. There's always, I mean, not always, but that's part of the gig. I was thinking about, like, they say hip hop starts here, but then you can go and Here Comes the Judge, which is like this jazz tune that came out in the 1950s that has like this total rap style, syncopated, rhyme style, funky beat shit, chorus and the whole nine. Like it goes back. Styles are always there. Vibes are always there. It's the naming of it that comes later and then the categorizing. But vibes are everywhere. I'm vibing out. Let's check out some of this. Like I got a great glass chillum. I got my handy dandy microphone. That's what I do have, a handheld, like stand-up comedy style microphone going into a little receiver. That's how I've been recording this stuff. And it helps me because I haven't been going on stage. And I am a stand-up comic. I just turned down some gigs in April. Still not really ready to go out there and mix it up with all the droplets. Amazing. So yeah, that's CBD and really good sour diesel out of a nice chillum. The thing about spliffs, if you get like high-end herb, you just power through them. And the thing about cannabis is like a lot of it's just like leveling it out and figuring out what works for you, or maybe you don't even want to fuck with it. I do think there's some people that don't. I think there's stuff for some people and stuff for not for some people, and everybody's on their own path. So what might be good for you might kill the next motherfucker. But I love the Biggie documentary. Check it out. I loved the Jamaican, like, dance hall. I've been watching all these YouTube about dance hall music and dub style and yeah, it goes deep, man. Jamaica's a trippy place, man. That's where a lot of, not all music, but a lot of different music styles can be traced to dancehall, reggae, dub reggae, ska, and hip hop can all kind of go back there. Can go, to some of the arrangements and the two turntables and a DJ. That's kind of where it comes from. And so I was studying I was kind of studying all that. And then I always liked Biggie. And dude, I remember being in DC and listening to in my car. Like, I'm old enough, like I remember when these songs were new. I remember listening to Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit in college in my next door neighbor's dorm room. And I remember being high and listening to it and reading the lyrics because I had this CD. Like, I think the dude bought it at the bookstore at the college, like, because that was like a big record. And like Under the Bridge. And there's like 3 songs I remember from the early 90s that was huge. You just couldn't fucking getting away from Pearl Jam's I'm Alive, Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and then Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, these were like huge, like almost like national anthem. Like, they were just played every like dingy bar, every radio, every, you just heard it, every party. I guess maybe I don't go out and it's still like that because people are like, oh, this Gucci Man shit or this whatever the new, let me think, The Weeknd's hot and shit. Like, I just remember being at parties when the 50 Cent album came out, like in the club. And I just remember specifically, because that was right when I got on Last Comic Standing. I was getting on TV. I was in LA. I was single. So I was hanging out. I remember being at a party and people were doing coke and shit. And there was chicks. And I remember somebody was fucking playing the 50 Cent album, like for the first time, the In the Club one. And that track, and everybody started bugging out. Like, people started dancing. It was just a party fucking record. Great record. I'm not a huge, like, I guess what I'm trying to stumble into is like the gangster crack shoot 'em up rap. And that's what bummed me out about Biggie, that he came up in that style. But at the same time, it was Brooklyn and it was the crack epidemic, and that amount of money, I guess, is what the documentary was painting the picture to me, because I do remember being young in my 20s, and there's like this moral thing that you're on. Like, it's just, you see people partying, you see people getting married, you see people fucking up, you see people getting jobs they don't like, people making moves that are weird. So, selling drugs, I've never done it, but I could see if I needed to have money, if I got kicked out of my house and the situation was set up like he was set up on Fulton Street in Brooklyn, and he kind of knew the neighborhood, because I did live in the city and I understand how those blocks work. I understand that it was his group of teenage kids that grew up into being their 20s, the junior mafia. And, started selling some coke, and then it was the crack world, and they started selling some crack and made a lot of money. And, I think even back then, police was just turning away. Like, it was just, in the city, like, that was where people get coke, people do this shit, it's out there. So it's like, that opportunity is hard to turn down. So, but the art, what comes out, is that just like super violent, but not all of his stuff was super violent. Like, a lot of it was just beautiful poetry. I would say that is like Natural Rhythms of Jamaica, jazz drummer. I love the jazz drummer in the Biggie story. The jazz drummer, the jazz musician that was a mentor to Biggie, to Christopher Wallace. Because we were born in the same year. Like, when he got those those Fat Boy tapes, I got those Fat Boy tapes. Like, he was in Brooklyn, I'm in DC, Virginia. I'm not saying, but there is something when I know, that's what the thing about Ralphie May, he was born in 72. Somebody that was born the same year as me, even if I'm not super tight with, like, at this age, like, I totally get him. I mean, I don't totally get him, but I got, you'll just see, man. But then I do like younger cats. I love younger cats. I love uh because they have different people go through different shit, man. People have different scopes, people have different scenes, people have different knowledge, and you learn stuff from everybody. Um everybody you can learn something from, and that's all we're doing. Um I just got a text. Sorry about that. Shit's moving, man. Like I said, I turned down. I was asked to do a 420 gig. I won't go into it, but I don't know. It was a Tuesday, and the numbers aren't down, and I'm not. The vax isn't fully rolled out. As soon as these numbers come down, I mean, it's gonna pop off. But we're in that kind of situation right now where it's like something I've learned through meditation is you have to be as careful at the end as you are in the beginning. And in my youth, I think like I would get something and then I would be like, I'm the man. I don't have to worry about sticking the landing or finishing up or this little thing or, angling like this. Um, but as you get older, you learn that you have to be careful with even like sending the extra email like thank you very much, or starting the email like I really appreciate this offer but no, setting boundaries but doing it proper and not blowing people off. Just everybody wants respect, and everybody's fucked up and suffering. So you gotta put kid gloves on, especially when you're dealing with business and shit, man. You gotta keep it official, keep it simple, as simple as possible. We're all human beings and nothing makes us more special than the other. And we're all figuring it out. So you got to be as straight up with everybody. And that's what I'm learning now. There is what is and what there will be. And you have to accept what there is, especially in show business, because you're all filled with all these different dreams and dramas, and you're fighting people in your mind, and you're saying this person's dissing me, and you've been thinking they're dissing you for like 10 years and they haven't even thought about you. And and that all takes up so much data. It takes so much data in your brain, so you have to learn to let everything go, and a lot of it's just being quiet and then leaning into the focus of what the fuck you got to do. uh, and what I got to do now is, keep drinking some more coffee. This is the last cup of the coffee. I went through a great chai tea. I had this great cold chai tea. My wife gifted me. She looks out for the kid. She got this bottle. She was at a friend. She picked up just this bottle, and it was like a whole week's of chai tea, and you just mix it with milk, and you could do it warm or you could do it cold. I was doing it ice, so I just get it like a glass of ice, fill it with this chai tea, and then I would fill it with milk or almond milk. I like almond milk, almond oat milk. Real milk is good, I think, with cooking and cheese and shit like that. But like for all my coffees, like and all that, I just don't want those funky stones, man. So you gotta not. I want to keep it moving. I need to drink. Caleb, the last podcast, the Amish farmer, he was talking about how much water. He showed me his jug of water. I know that's an angle. I know cats do that, like underneath their desk while they're working or podcasting or doing whatever they got. They always got a big ass jug of water, and they're like, "Yo, I'm drinking 5 of these a day, and pissing out my ears." And you're like, "Oh yeah, this cannabis is great." But I hate like stopping the podcast and then hitting it, because then I'm like, oh no, nobody's talking. That's why I need to start putting maybe some more beats underneath here, get some more vibes going. I enjoy making the beats on this podcast. I'm working on this music. I'm working on this album. I'm getting more focused. I'm getting more real, like looking into the project, trying, and that's again like the Biggie. Yeah, that jazz drummer, and how he taught him how to rhyme and how to create a beat within the melody of the lyrics is just fat and all that, man. Man, that's a great documentary. It's like one of those things you got to watch in sections. And that it's real, and his mom, that bummed me out. And his mom seems like seems like my mom, such a good mom, hardworking and just trying to do the right thing. And he was just kind of a fuck up and loved hip hop. Like, who can't relate to that shit? But as I get older, I mean, I don't need hip hop and beats all the time. I'm really enjoying the quiet. But I also love making music, and I love getting in the pocket of the beat. A lot of it's just riding the beat and getting in the pocket, and once you find that, it's like dancing. Some people hate dancing. I like it. I've always danced. I dance in the kitchen. I dance making things. When I get happy, I start dancing. Um, what's wrong with that? This coffee's bomb. We're getting down to the last bit. Yeah, that documentary was amazing. I'm stretching, but I'm also doing voiceover auditions. So that's taking an amount of focus. And I've been doing some I did a couple, what was it? Impressions, which I'm not like an impression cat, but I'm not completely. Um, I used to do, I love Saturday Night Live, and I used to love this guy that did Ronald Reagan. And you go, well, you know who had well, 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 Ronald, that's Reagan. Bill Clinton, Bill, well, Reagan, Bill, Bill Clinton, Bush, Bill, well, Bush, Obama. What's that Obama sound? Very much. I think I got it. Very much. I don't know. Very much. That's what. Yeah. Obama says very much a lot. Reagan says well a lot, and then Bill says Bill. Bill just says his name. Bill Clinton. Bush just says his name. I promised myself I wasn't going into politics, man. But I have to say, stop Asian hate. This Atlanta thing. I know I'm talking current politics and fear and scary and guns. I hate guns, man. I never fuck with guns. I've been talking about a will to kill. And I think if you have a will to kill, the world will never completely, the universe will never completely open up if you have a will to kill. But I do believe you have to protect yourself, and sometimes shit goes down, but it shouldn't be celebrated. And it should be the very, 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 very last resort. But nowadays everything's out, everybody's gun, and fucking computers, and everybody's all stressed out. And it's like, motherfucker. Now we got this dude in Atlanta shooting up. And I just want to say, I just do not like where that direction is going towards. And I want to say to all my Asian brothers and sisters, I love you. I love Asian culture. I think the last 10 years without meditation, without a sense of Lao Tzu and a sense of Tibet, mentally, I couldn't afford therapy, and life is weird and hard. And, I'm in show business and all of it. So I had to teach myself to meditate, and I did that with books, from Asia, from, Bruce Lee, Chinese culture, meditation, Buddhism, tea, art, culture, friends, love, food, music. We're all into this together, man. It's West and East equals we. W and E. So I just want to say that, man. I was going to reach out to some of my Asian friends, but I thought that would be cheesy if I had tried to get them on the podcast. It just went down last night, and I tried not to absorb media stuff yesterday. And then that one really just fucking hit me hard. And then I thought about it at night, And I just don't like the idea of people getting singled out and minorities and being exposed. When you are the minority, you're outnumbered. It's like, and it's just an awkward, weird situation to be. It's a power struggle. A lot of this stuff is a power trip, man. People are in love with power. It's inducing a sense of superiority over certain people, which is fucking whack because we're all alone and all one. Maybe we're all one and alone in the universe flying through space, but maybe there's other big giant motherfuckers. Infinity is in the moment, you know, and then we have it, but we have to learn how to treat the body good and the mind good and grow and spin and dance to it all. Does that make any sense? Or did I've been smoking too much of this 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 CBD? No, I feel great. It's a sour diesel. I do have it's a rainy, cold day. It can't warm up. It hasn't warmed up. But I'm feeling good. I don't want to go negative on anybody. And I have been playing the guitar more. What happened is I lost my electric tuner. I am kind of tone deaf. I used to play violin when I was young. And the teacher told my parents that I was tone deaf. But I just think I just didn't have the attention span. You could tell from my mannerisms and the way I talk on this, I can ramble. So sitting there in the 70s in a classroom before and just absorbing somebody teaching the violin for like 2 hours. I had to go to a class for like 2 hours, the Suzuki book method in Southeast DC. This is in the 70s. And they had this thing in the public school system where they had these awesome like symphony playing teachers teach kids. And I think it was near free. And that's why my parents took me, and my brother and sister and I would go. But it was on Saturday morning during cartoons, and we couldn't watch cartoons. We used to be so fucking pissed because we had that classes lasted like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you're in this hot ass public school classroom, and the teachers like you have to holding the violin is the hardest thing. I'm not talking about country and western fiddle. I'm talking about Suzuki method violin, holding it and putting it under your chin, and then it is one of the most. But I think I learned a lot about music because when I do arrange music or do raps or I know it's good. I know what I like. And I was exposed to violin. So I was exposed to music theory, and not even music theory, just like learning Suzuki method, which I don't even remember. It's like, it's a lot of repetition and numbers and stuff. It's hard, but once you get it, it's like this high level of playing methodologies, but I do think from that experience, I do have a love for music. I've been playing more guitar. I went and got a tuner from Guitar Center. Guitar Center was open. I was double masked. I was surprised. I thought Guitar Center went under. I was like, that's like kind of one of those big stores. And those Guitar Center, like one Guitar Center, is kind of like, dude, they got like 200 fucking grunge band 20 something barely making rent, paying, about to break big in the music business people. But even the music business is all splintered. Everything's splintered. Comedy's all over the place. Comedy is all over the place. And so is music. That's why I don't think you should be intimidated by any of this stuff. Like now, there is a sense of a renaissance. There is a gold rush, definitely a green rush in cannabis. Shout out to Lancashire hemp, man. I like having some CBD with my flower. I would roll a spliff, but I didn't want to spliff out. Spliff out. Sometimes it's good to have a spliff, but it's like cold, and it's you don't want the windows up too long, So it's like one hitters are perfect. Chill 'em, a good chill 'em that's super cleaned out, and that's what I did. Shout out to Pokeball. This is what I used. This little, it looks like a cube that they used to deliver weed in New York. I used to have a guy deliver something like this every 2 weeks, sometimes once a week if it was hot and heavy. Sometimes as much as you smoke, being a stand-up comic, sometimes I went with how many shows I would do, and then how many friends I was hanging out with. When I was hanging out with my California friends, they all smoked weed, so you could burn through a bag. But usually everybody had weed, so that was good too. I can't wait to go out to California. Speaking of California, I had an awesome experience. What was it? Tuesday, I got to do Getting Doug with High. We did a Zoom. My good old buddy Doug Benson. Shout out to Doug Benson, Lisa Glass, and his co-star Rizzo. The great podcast, Getting Doug with High. He's doing it via Patreon. So I did a Zoom with those guys and I had a blast, but they were all in California. So it's nice to connect with them. And the last time I was there, I did a ride from San Francisco to LA, and I got to stay in Big Sur. You can listen to that episode. I'm talking about Big Sur. I remember I got a great vape pen in San Francisco at a dispensary, a 1-in-1. I was so glad they had a 1 part CBD, 1 part THC. And I actually asked for that. I said, I want a 1-in-1 organic outdoor grown cannabis. That's what I want set. I don't want it underground. I don't want the big lamps. I mean, I'll take that stuff. I mean, that's Kush came from all that. Florida was all hydroponic mostly. Not all of it. I mean, it's still pretty hot out there. I'm sure somebody's growing weed outside. I wonder if that's a good place to grow. I'm all about the outdoor grow to save the planet. And I think the electricity bill has a lot of like lawmakers. Like that's just like kind of a negative thing somebody could shout down, legalization of cannabis, because I do think the bigger picture is global warming. I think the planet is definitely going to feel the effects. It definitely is. Not to get political, but it just, when I went to Alaska and I saw the side of this glacier, and all the like locals are like, yeah, that wasn't like that like 10 years ago. Like it's definitely, and that was like the Republicans were telling me that shit. Like the dude that was driving me around when I was doing this gig in Anchorage, shout out Chilla Coots Charlie's, one of my favorite gigs ever. But the guy that drove me around, I remember he told me, he goes, I do have a gun. He was, I was like, oh, okay. But they're allowed to carry. I think he had to tell me because he was driving me around. And he had it in the car, and I was like, all right, but at the same time, you could run into a bear or a moose. So that's why I'm kind of like not super, super duper liberal on the gun thing. Because I do understand, hunting and protecting yourself in the woods and stuff like that. I'm just against, letting psychos get a gun that day and all that shit, just tougher laws. Just make sure it's out of the hands of psychos and automatic. I don't need fucking rifles and M16s and all that shit. All the good rednecks out there, all you really need is a pistol and then a shotgun, or maybe a rifle, like pistol, rifle, shotgun, that type of shit, man. If you got one or two, or maybe all three, you're gonna be fine. I mean, you're gonna be able to protect yourself against most everything. That and a fishing rod. I wonder if I could survive in the mountains. If I had a fishing rod, a rifle, and a shotgun, and a pistol, I'd probably shoot myself not on purpose, by mistake. I'm not good with any of those things. But I do like fishing. I love the outdoors, and I do know you have to protect yourself. So I don't know, man. Love is love. Be kind to each other, Because the thing is, you can get caught up in all this stuff, but I'm like old enough that I have friends that have been dead for like 10 years. So it's like, do people die every second of the day? And do I want to, what I really want to do is be good to my friends and help people out and be healthy and then be creative, be musical, be comical, make some money off of that shit. Go on vacation, eat some ice cream by the beach. I never lived by the beach. Well, I did live by the beach. In San Francisco, I lived actually like I lived on Ocean Beach where the guy from Sublime, Bradley Knoll, died. I lived a block away from that motel. I lived like right across the street. I lived in this house. There's one dude that I know on Twitter that like he was my next door neighbor, but he's a music producer now, but he lived with all these skateboarders. They were cool. But it was such a dope spot, man. I mean, our apartment wasn't shit, but um it was right next to the beach. Big waves, man. Ocean Beach on a perfect day in San Francisco, Ocean Beach. It's almost like Hawaii. Like the waves are like 10 to 15 feet. It's like big fucking ocean cliff hanging motherfuckers. And usually it's blown out because it's really windy out there. So usually the waves are all chopped off. But once in a while, man, once in a while, you just get this beautiful day where it's not too windy and these big monster waves. Like it's near Mavericks. So this is Mavericks, like junior cousins are rolling up. And that's like right in the city of San Francisco, Ocean Beach. And shout out the beach chalet you can go to, or there's that overlook. I did a gig at the Cliff House. That's a beautiful spot in San Francisco, the Cliff House. It's right before you get on Route 1, this big like old restaurant. Maybe it was a hotel back in the day, but it's connected to the cliff and it's near all these stairs and weird Russian baths and it's just on this mountain. It's crazy. And it's connected to the city. And it's right where you go right before you jump on Route 1. And Route 1 takes you down to Santa Cruz. And that's what I was talking about. I never lived in a beach town except for that. Like I've lived in a couple different places. I lived in Nags Head a couple summers or one summer. And then Michigan, we did Lake Michigan. In Lake Michigan, there is beaches. I'm going to head up there soon. Shout out to this, bringing this podcast all the way around. This is Zingerman's Coffee. Shout out. I'm heading up there soon. I got some family up there and I got to go see them. And everybody's getting vaxxed out. So at the end of April, I'm supposed to drive up to Michigan. So if you're listening to this podcast and you run a dispensary in Michigan, I'm actually going to be in Traverse City. If there's a dispensary in Traverse City or Lansing and you guys want me to do a podcast, the Cannabis Coffee Hour, I could do it. I can get a funky guest. I know all kinds of cats. Musicians, comedians. I could put it on some calls, see who's laying around. Who wants to do a 420 podcast drinking coffee? But this is like one of those Seattle days here. It's like about to rain. It's getting hotter, but that means it's not going to snow. New York is still cold, man. It's like 30 a lot, 32. Like today is like hot and it's like 41. It's like cold as shit, man. You gotta, get your sweats on. I should get out and walk. Like I was doing all these auditions and doing all these. I'm trying to stay focused. I'm writing scripts. And I'm trying to do some of it without smoking. So I'm trying to find that balance. And that's a part of it. But I love doing this podcast and I do love smoking. But in terms of sticking the landing and pushing some of these, I'm going to put money into some of these music projects. So I don't want to fuck around. I want it to be right. And good. That sounded kind of weird. Not really. I'm just actually, I do have to take a leak. I have to pee, everybody. It's like water. I drank so much coffee and smoked so much cannabis that I'm starting to get jittery, and it's down there. The bladder is there. So I'm going to wrap it up. I just wanted to get on here and say I love you and stop Asian hate, and check out the new Biggie Smalls documentary on Netflix, and check out my album Pure Uncut Joy. Be nice to your neighbor and get vaccinated if you can. And I suggest, I don't know, people hate being told what to do. I'm trying not to tell I'm going to do me, you do you, but try to do the best you. I'm going to try to do the best me. I love you, but I got to pee. I'm breaking out. Peace.